All right, with the beautiful weather we've had all of March and the first part of April, it seems like everybody else been planting at least 3 weeks and we ain't put the first seed in the ground. But we're going to try and rectify that today. All right, we planted about 100 yards. Let's do a little bit of digging, make sure we got this thing set right. All right, this year we're not only are we want to make sure that we're getting all the seed in the ground about the right depth. As dry as it's been all March and so far in April, we need to make sure we're putting in the moisture, because if the seeds don't have moisture, they're not going to germinate. And then by the time we do get a rain, if they sit there in that dry dirt, they can lose a lot of their germ, actually dry the seed out. They lose germ, not come up. Or when it does rain, there's likely to be followed quickly by a cold front. And then we got germinating beans sitting in cold, damp conditions, and we don't want that. Come on, where are you at? All right, there we go. There's the first one. I want to say she's about 3/4 of an inch deep there. Definitely need to go a little bit lower on our back units. Now let's check some of our front units. Yeah, I'm seeing seed on top of the ground. We definitely ain't deep enough on those. I think because that soil is pretty dang dry, and also we got a great forecast for at least another 6 days. I'm gonna put these a little deeper than I normally do. Try and put them a little over an inch deep. Try and get them a little bit farther down into moisture. All right, let's give this another shot. All right, there's my first one. Yeah, that's about 1 1/4, 1.5 inches deep right there. I think that's about perfect. Now I'm gonna check a few more here. Well, we're now several hours in, but only 19.3 acres in. It's not been the first day of planting that I had hoped for. It has been nothing but issues. Right now, if you hear that beeping, it's showing number 9's not putting out, but it's putting seed. So I've got a bad sensor on my seed tube, I believe. So just going to have to live with that for now. What else has happened? The head on my number 4 hydraulic remote is going out. It got to where my fan would just kick on and off, and that's a symptom of the electronic head on that hydraulic valve stack going bad. So I moved my markers and my fold up and everything. I moved it to number 4 because I think I can get it worked enough to work my markers the rare occasions I need them, and then to put it in the transport mode, and moved my fan to the number 2 position. So all my switches that I'm used to running are now backwards, so I've got to remind myself every time I work a hydraulic function. But the biggest source of my frustration has come from this precision planting monitor right here. Now I know I've bragged in past years how much I love precision planting, you know, what a fantastic job it does, and I mean, and that's still the case. But this year, they came out with a major software update. Completely changed a lot of stuff on the monitor, and you know, when we hooked the planter up, of course, we were trying to get our liquid fertilizer to talk, make sure all that was going to work. Even though we're not going to need it for soybeans, I still wanted to make sure that it was going to communicate and all of that. And they told me I really needed to update it to the 26.0.3 version, so I did. They failed to inform me that I was going to have to completely reconfigure everything on my monitor. So anyway, I spent like 3 hours yesterday afternoon, a lot of that on the phone with support, trying to get everything reconfigured. Thought we had everything handled right and everything. So anyway, this morning we filled up with seed there at the shop and going to prime my meters and everything. Could not get my meters to turn for anything. Of course, all of them are electric drive. And come to find out, there was one thing in there I didn't have configured right, so got that taken care of. Then we got here to the field. Y'all saw me plant a little bit, dig for the seed and everything. And I didn't realize it at the time, but like my furrow force was not activated. It wasn't building up any air pressure in the airbags, and I didn't see it until, you know, after I was just started planting and saw things going on my monitor. So anyway, called tech support yet again, and while I was on hold, I saw where it wasn't configured right. So anyway, got that taken care of, but and then it's the airbags started getting pressure in them and everything like they're supposed to, but they wasn't putting down the proper pressure. It wasn't adjusting. It was staying put at 50 psi. So there was another option on here that, you know, I didn't have set up. And anyway, its problem is with this update, I don't think it's a bad update, but there's quite a few things that takes like an extra step or two to accomplish to do the same thing that we did, you know, with the old software update. And I think once I get used to it, it's probably gonna be fine. But it's kind of like when Apple does a major update on the iOS on your iPhone. You know, initially you hate it because it's not what you're used to and you have problems finding things. So it's a lot of the same stuff, but man, it has given me absolutely nothing but headaches. And then the couple things, you know, problems with a hydraulic, my seed sensor not reading. I had a problem with a wiring harness that I think was not making good contact, and messed with it for quite a while. It's just been a plumb old aggravating first day, and now it's dang near 3 o'clock. I planted a hair over 20 acres so far. I was wanting to get this 80-acre farm done easily, get moved up in Madison County, and at least get started on another farm. And that leaves us with a real easy day tomorrow to get our full season soybeans planted. But that's looking unachievable right now. It's just been an aggravating day. I gotta find some way to turn this. I cannot listen to this beeping all day long. I don't know. I gotta get some stuff planted. I just have to deal with it. Anyway, basically my worst fear came true today. It wasn't going to be a nice, easy day of planting. I thought we were all prepared and everything, and we were. It's just, I advise you, if you run precision planting, don't update to the new 26 software unless you got a complete rainy day on your hand with nothing else to do. Don't do it and think, well, hey, I'm gonna go to the field here in an hour or so and plant, because it ain't gonna work like that. Or better yet, just run the 25 software for this year, and then this winter, when you got all kinds of time in the world, update to 26 then. Because I mean, eventually, I mean, you're gonna have to update to the new software. I mean, that's what they're gonna be supporting going forward. Eventually, you're gonna have to update it. Just don't try and do it right before you plan on going planting. Don't make the same mistake I did. A lot of y'all say, well, why don't you just revert back to the 25? Well, I mean, I could, but then I'd have to reconfigure everything again. So anyway, we're going to try and we're trying to get as much seed planted as quickly as we can, because Helen is going to be closing down for the day here in a little bit, and I'd like to go ahead and get my other 2 bulk bags of seed, go ahead and get them in the seed tender. Carter got out of school and he's supposed to bring the seed tender over here, but I'm trying to get enough seed run out of the planter to where the planter will hold what's left in the seed tender. And then we're changing varieties with the next 2 bulk bags, so that's why I want an empty seed tender, and then he can go pick it up. All right, we just got filled up with seed and got Carter gone to Helena just in time to get there before they go home for the day. So that's working out all right. I have now diagnosed I definitely have a failed seed tube sensor, even though the light's blinking on the seed tube. When I stick something up in there like it's reading, it's showing that it's failed on the screen, and I plugged it and unplugged it. So something's bad on it. I think I got a spare one at the shop. We'll try and swap it out in the morning. I think my the head on this one remote has failed, or it's really close to failing. So I tried to fold it up to go across the ditch to fill up a seed. It wouldn't do anything. Shut the tractor down there while we filled up, 20-25 minutes, let it cool off. It's working again, but it's definitely on its way out. But worst comes to worst, when I need to fold up, I might just have to go there and like unplug my vacuum, plug my fold and unfold into that remote, and just do that every time I need to fold and unfold, and just not use my markers at all, just to get by until we get it fixed. I got to call into the service department, and they're checking to see if they got one in stock. And actually we got one failed on the other tractor too, so I got 2 of them need to be replaced. And let me tell you, they ain't cheap. They ain't cheap at all. But right now we're just trying to keep things together, get seed in the ground. We got perfect conditions. I mean, this has been the driest and warmest March and April I've ever seen in my life. We had a really nice March back in 2007, got our corn planted in March, had a picture perfect stand, then had an Easter freeze come in and wipe my corn out and devastate my wheat crop. I think we're past that risk for this year, but man, I've never seen it this dry. And, it's not like Kansas or Colorado dry. It's all relatively speaking, but for the way that it normally is this time of year, normally we're trying to get rid of moisture in the soil, and this year we're not. So we ain't gotten too dry to plant yet, but much more this weather right here, it will be too dry to plant. But right now conditions are perfect. Like I said, everybody in West Tennessee has been blowing and going planting for at least 2 weeks. Well, at least a week and a half, if not 2 to 3 weeks. And some of the guys I talked to, I mean, they're this close to being done for the year. And here it is. I mean, it's what, April 10th? I mean, we got guys talking about starting to plant cotton Monday. I've never heard of cotton being planted that early in April before, and here we are, I mean, just getting started. Of course, I mean, I'm not concerned about it. There's still a lot of planting season. I mean, this is the earliest I've ever planted soybeans in my career. I think the previous earliest I'd ever planted soybeans was April 15th. So, I mean, it's not like I'm worried or anything, but conditions are perfect. We got sufficient biomass of cover crops. We got a good stretch for at least the next 6 days. Supposed to be rain free, nice and warm. I mean, perfect conditions for germinating. So we know that can change in a hurry. So I want to get as much seed in the ground as I can. We're not quite done spreading chicken litter. Andy's still got about 1 more day of spreading chicken litter, but whenever we start planting corn, because he's not going to have to run the fertilizer buggy, because we're putting fertilizer out with the planter, he'll have plenty of time to get that last day or so of chicken litter spread without any problem at all. See, Kelly, she went and picked up our beef today. As usual, we've either got to carry the steers or pick up the beef. Same day we need to be in the fields. But anyway, she went and picked up our meager portion of beef, because I don't know if I told y'all, that steer of ours that we carried in came in at 930 pounds. I mean, that's the saddest steer.
I've ever hauled off. The others did a lot better. I think another one was 1,080, and then the big one was almost 1,200 pounds. So they did what they were supposed to do. Unfortunately, that one that I had, I don't know if he was on a diet or anorexic, bulimic, I don't know what, but he didn't put on much weight. So we're not at the point where we're going to have to ration beef for the next year, because I mean, it's only 3 of us, but it's not going to be steaks every weekend, that's for dang sure. Anyway, just look at this cover crop right here. Look how fantastic it looks. It's one that we drilled. And anyway, the blend out here is cereal rye, oats, annual ryegrass, and then those yellow flowers, if you can pick them out, that is actually rapeseed, a very close cousin to canola. We just got that in, just trying to bust up the hard pan. But this is the second year we've had this mix on here. We're actually going beans behind beans on this farm, which we don't hardly ever do, but it's a rough, old, thin ground, and I know it's got a really shallow fragipan, and by having this blend on here, we're trying our best to go ahead and remediate that fragipan just as quickly as we possibly can. So that's why we're doing 2 years of beans behind beans with that, a real stout grass mix, and hopefully we made some good progress in soil health. I know we've added a lot of organic matter with it. Anyway, on this farm right here, what our burn down is going to be, none of it's been sprayed, but Andy and Kelly come in here tomorrow with just gramoxone paraquat on this farm right here. I'm not going to put down any kind of residuals, because I mean, look at that cover cropping. Look how thick it is. I mean, we're going to get fantastic weed control. We're at least going to get good enough weed control to hold it until we come back with our post-emerge. So, you know, that zidua that we normally put out is what, around $12 an acre. You know, metribuzin that we put out with the zidua, you know, another, I don't know, $3, $4 an acre. I didn't actually call about a price on it. I know it's normally pretty cheap, but I mean, yeah, I think we can save, you know, at least $15, $16 an acre in chemical cost on this. So we invested in the cover crop, so why not do that? I mean, we've got sufficient biomass to give us excellent weed control until, like I said, until about the first or second trifoliate, whenever we come in here with our post-emerge application. Well, it looks like we actually survived the first day of planting, and we were able to meet my revised goal for the day. We got, I don't know, about 6 or 7 more acres on this farm, and we will have our first 80 acres of crop in the ground. The last several hours have run relatively smooth. We got a few other minor gremlins solved. I was having vacuum issues on one vacuum and found out there's a bunch of debris in the vacuum tube. Got that cleaned out, and we'll take this thing back home, do a little bit of wrenching on it in the morning, replace that seed tube, and hopefully we've about got all the bugs worked out of this. I called H&R about my hydraulic remote, and they've actually got the head unit in, so they talk like they probably be able to get out first thing tomorrow morning and get that replaced. So if we do that, our tractor will be back to 100%, and we should be ready to go. So I tell you what, it sure is a whole lot more fun planting when everything's working like it should, which for right now it is. So with this 80 acres done today, that leaves us with about 115 acres to do tomorrow, which should be readily achievable if we don't have any problems, and if that service call doesn't take too long in the morning to get my tractor fixed. We're going to be primarily in some bigger, flatter, smoother fields, except for one farm. We got a new farm that I'll show y'all tomorrow that we picked up, gonna put beans on. But if we get that 115 acres done tomorrow, that'll leave us about 5 acres to do, and that 5 acres is going to be variety plots. I'm scheduled with UT and Pioneer to put those in first thing Monday morning, so we're gonna leave out enough space to put in. I think it's about 18, 19 plots that we got to plant. So anyway, it's about to get too dark to film. We got a few more acres due on this farm. We're gonna wrap it up, head in the shop, get ready for a good long day tomorrow. So I'll bring you back then.